The novel coronavirus continues to spread, with the mainland logging its highest daily number of cases in 6 weeks, most of which were imported. Meanwhile, the Philippines is nearing 5,000 cases and now has the most number of confirmed infections in Southeast Asia.
Mainland China reported 108 new coronavirus cases today, the highest spike in infections in 6 weeks. Most of these were imported, with 10 domestically transmitted. Of these, 7 were in Heilongjiang province and 3 were in Guangdong. This brings the total number of confirmed cases in the mainland to over 82,100. Meanwhile, in Japan, Hokkaido has declared a state of emergency once again. This comes after the northernmost island saw a double-digit rise in cases for 5 consecutive days. Nationwide, Japan recorded 500 new cases, bringing its total to nearly 7,400. South Korea logged 25 more COVID-19 cases to an overall total of 10,537. The Philippines registered 18 more fatalities from the virus, now with over 300 deaths. It also recorded 284 new cases, bringing its total to 4,932 and overtaking Malaysia with the most number of infections in Southeast Asia. Mass testing across the country is due to begin tomorrow. ASEAN members are also scheduled to meet in a digital conference tomorrow to discuss the pandemic. Additionally, leaders from the 10 member nations will hold a separate meeting with their counterparts from China, South Korea, and Japan.
Good evening. The International Monetary Fund expects that Macau economy to shrink 29.6% this year. The IMF released its latest edition of the World Economic Outlook this evening. According to the document, the local economy will be largely affected by the novel coronavirus pandemic. After a 4.7% fall in 2019, it is expected to fall by almost 30% this year. According to the forecast, the unemployment rate and the inflation rate will stay almost unchanged. However, the IMF expects the economy to rebound in 2021. If the outlook proves right, the growth rate will reach stunning 32% next year.
Let's take a look at more stories from the region in tonight's Asia Roundup.
Thai New Year, also known as Songkran, usually sees crowds of people splashing water at each other to celebrate. But not this time. All events were cancelled this year as part of efforts to slow the spread of the virus. Thailand is currently under a state of emergency, and the government has also urged citizens not to travel back to their hometowns for the holidays. The baggage area in Japan's Narita airport has been turned into a makeshift hotel for passengers. Beds fashioned out of cardboard are being used by passengers who are waiting for their coronavirus test results. Results can come out as quickly as 6 hours, but with delays can take as long as 2 days. And since passengers are forbidden from using public transportation, they have no choice but to wait at the airport. And in Indonesia, a different approach to making sure people don't break isolation protocols. A neighborhood in the province of Java has deployed volunteers dressed as ghosts to patrol the streets and scare people into staying at home. The ghosts patrol streets every few days to catch people out and about. But the practice has gone viral on social media and has resulted in more people going out to try and catch the ghosts on duty.
No new cases of COVID-19 were registered in Macau in 6 days, and 2 new patients have been discharged from hospital. But even as Macau saw a rise in border crossings, traffic at the airport has ground to a halt, with new measures set to further test those wanting to come home by air.
6 consecutive days with no new cases of COVID-19, and 2 more patients discharged from hospital. At the Daily Health Bureau press conference, authorities revealed the 14th total patient to be discharged is Macau's 36th case, a local resident studying in Portugal who returned to Macau and went into home quarantine before testing positive. The 15th case to be discharged is a local resident who was studying in the UK. Authorities say he had contact with confirmed cases while interning at a hospital in London and tested positive upon returning to Macau. Both are said to be in good health and have been sent to the Koloan Infectious Diseases Center for a 14-day isolation. Authorities, however, did see a large daily rise in the number of visitors entering Macau yesterday, up 50% to some 410, while some 4,600 residents also entered, up over 20%. The passenger numbers through the airport have plummeted, with sources telling TDM Canal Macau that yesterday saw no commercial flights coming through the airport, an unprecedented situation which is likely to worsen. given new measures mandating incoming passengers prove they have tested negative for COVID-19 if coming from a high-risk region. The tests can only be conducted by a health bureau of the local government of the region, with the results released less than 7 days before the flight. Authorities say these measures were communicated with the flight companies to ensure everyone's safety.
First, do these passengers fit the criteria to board the flight? For example, if they're not local, since non-residents can't enter Macau, they would not be allowed to board the flight. Second, they have to show a declaration stating they took a nucleic acid test and the result was negative. Third, we asked the companies that before passengers enter the plane, they have to have their temperature taken. If they have a fever, they're also not allowed to board the plane. These are the measures done via the flight companies in order to try and protect the flight staff and passengers of the plane.
Authorities claim today that only the combination of all measures, from temperature checks to social distancing and testing, will be effective in avoiding an outbreak in Macau. Some 468 people are still under medical observation in the hotels designated by the Health Bureau. 163 are non-resident workers, 246 are residents, and 59 are of other nationalities.